Buenas and half a day, everyone. This virtual hearing by the Committee on Air Transportation, Parks, Tourism, Higher Education, and the Advancement of Women, Youth, and Senior Citizens is hereby called to order. Today is Friday, April 9th, 2021, and the time now is 9 a.m. For the record, and in accordance with open government law, notices for this hearing were sent on April 2nd, 2021, and again on April 7th, 2021. In addition, this hearing was noticed on the Guam Legislature website. Joining me here this morning are Senator Talina Cruz Nelson and Senator Mary Camacho Torres. Thank you very much, colleagues, for joining me. And Senator Tina Muña Barnes, Vice Speaker, who is one of the co-sponsors for Bill 100, wanted to express her apologies for not being here this morning. She did have a family matter to take care of, so she wanted to be here, of course, in support of this measure. So thank you very much to my colleagues, and thank you for everyone who's here to testify. We have folks from the Department of Public Health and Social Services, Division of Senior Citizens. We have representatives from the Public Defender Service Corporation, as well as some other individuals, and I see Mayor Bill King as well. Thank you very much, Mayor. Before we proceed with the discussion, I'd like to first provide some general rules of conduct for all those who are in attendance. The conduct of this hearing shall be as follows. Please keep your video on at all times and ensure that you are in a room with little to no interruptions and adequate lighting, specifically to make sure that the participant's face is visible at all times. When speaking, please ensure that you are unmuted and that you are speaking into your microphone. The chair will invite individuals who have signed up to testify. Individuals testifying shall first be recognized by the chair before speaking and shall state their name for record purposes. The order of questioning will begin with the panel of senators who shall complete their lines of questioning for each respective item on the agenda. Questions and testimony shall be confined to the substance or nature of the agenda. Personal inference as to the character or motive of any senator or any individual testifying is not permitted. Any violations of this general rule of conduct will result in removal from the meeting room. So Sujus Masi, everyone, for your cooperation. We will now move on to the first agenda item, and that is Bill number 100-36 COR, introduced by myself, Senator Amanda L. Shelton, Tina Rose Muña Barnes, Talina Cruz Nelson, Joe S. and Agustin, and Mary Camacho Torres, as well as Vicente Anthony Atta. An act to amend Section 11105 of Chapter 11, Title 12, Guam Code Annotated, relative to allowing the Public Defender Service Corporation to receive and administer grants and enter into intra-governmental and intergovernmental agreements, and to establishing an elder law center within the corporation to provide legal services for Guam's elderly population. Bill 100-36 COR seeks to authorize the Public Defender Service Corporation, PDSC, to apply for, receive, and administer federal grants to fund legal services tailored specifically to Guam's elderly population. If passed, this measure would require the PDSC to comply with the conditions of federal grants, subgrants, and intragovernmental and intergovernmental agreements to include representation to individuals who may qualify for legal services. Under Guam law, the PDSC is mandated to assist indigent residents in criminal and civil matters. Due to an increase in criminal cases, the PDSC Board of Trustees issued moratoriums on civil and domestic issues in 1997, 1999, and 2003, limiting the amount of civil work provided by the PDSC. Since 2003, the PDSC has not handled civil matters in the same volume since its inception in 1975. In collaboration with the Department of Public Health and Social Services and the PDSC, the measure would use an existing federal grant of $190,000 to fund an elderly law center. The center would fill the gap in legal services for over 400 of our Manamku waiting for assistance. We are happy to inform this committee and the public that the PDSC opened the Elder Justice Center on March 15th, 2021, and the PDSC Board of Trustees, through the PDSC's Board of Trustees approval in July 2020 through resolution number 0620, authorizing a pilot program. A grand opening is scheduled for Senior Citizens Month in May 2021, and I want to thank our partners at the PDSC and their Board of Trustees for this incredible milestone for our community. I'm certainly hopeful that Bill 100, through this bill, we can equip the PDSC with the tools to ensure long-standing necessary legal services for our Manamco, especially with the recent establishment of the Elder Justice Center pilot program. Caring for our Manamco is one of our island culture's central pillars, and cherishing our elderly loved ones remains integral to honoring their legacy. This mentality should extend to all facets of their life, including providing one of our island's most vulnerable populations access to legal services. So now at this time, I'd like to call on those who have signed up to testify and who are here in the Zoom room. When I call on you, I ask that you please unmute your mic and state your name and the organization that you are representing this morning. And so, I'm sorry, I lost my video for a second, but thank you. I'll just go in the order of the people I see on my screen. And so first, I'd like to invite Attorney Stephen Hattori from the Public Defender Service Corporation to testify.
Okay. Thank you, Chairperson Shelton. I was wondering if I could just yield my time and let Attorney Mike Phillips speak first. I'm sure he has clients he needs to get to, and then I'll be here for the duration. So I'd just like to give him an opportunity to go first.
All right. Sure. Thank you very much. So Attorney Michael Phillips.
Well, thank you so much, Stephen, and Madam Chair, and all those present. I'm glad to be here. I'm glad that I learned about this bill. I think it's a great idea. I have been working in law since 1985, although I was only an attorney from 1988 till now. But in 1985, when I was working at the court, you would find our Manamco walking, looking for help. And it's not that they're not intelligent or anything. It's just that the services were not clearly available for them. And for a lot of us, quite frankly, that practice law, and maybe those that can afford attorneys, whether it's the fees or the cost of an attorney, aren't a significant barrier to the different aspects of life that need to go on. But for a Manamco, it can be a huge barrier. And the second aspect, I think, and one of the really good things about this bill and services like this, and I'm speaking personally, I believe the public defender is the perfect institution because of their history of doing not just this type of work, but advocating for the little guy. And so what it allows for, though, is what I remember in the past. And I'm not going to mention names, but there were a few attorneys that worked for the public defender's office that specialized. And there's times when I would call them and say, I've got this situation, and it would involve a specific type of elderly related law or transactions and things like that. And I knew that I would call so-and-so from the public defender's office because, in my opinion, they specialized. That's what's needed in the ordinary practice of law. You don't or shouldn't have people that don't know much about criminal defense trying to practice, and you shouldn't have much that don't know about bankruptcy going into bankruptcy court. And in this case, our Manamco deserve attorneys that specialize and do enough of the work that they can give them competent and correct advice and perform the services. My experience, Madam Chair, with the public defenders, they've always come across as your great public servant type of government department. And while we have many employees across the government that do the same, the public defender has always come across like that. I know because I have clients that either they can't afford my services and they go to the public defender, or I tell them, stay with the public defender because you don't need a private attorney. They're fine, and they have their specialties, and they have a great success rate. And so I'm proud today to stand in support of this bill. I think the public defender and the leadership there today are perfect for this task. And I like the idea that someone can be held accountable because they're given that responsibility, they're given the funding. They will become even more specialized than they are today at servicing this community. And I won't belabor either the committee or anybody else with the amazing need that our island has to take care of Amnamco in this area that we call law. It really just, the year 2021 is so different from the year 1971. And they need the services. We require things to happen. And so since we do that, we should at the very least provide them with the services that they need to make these things happen. And if there's no questions, I'll end with that.
Thank you very much, Attorney Phillips. If any of my colleagues have a question for Attorney Phillips, you can ask it at this time so we can excuse him from the panel. Okay, I don't think anyone has a question, so thank you very much. And
thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Chairperson, before we excuse Attorney Phillips, I just want to thank him. So part of the Elder Justice Center, right, we have a panel of private attorneys who are willing to assist Manamco who are financially overqualified for our services. And so Mr. Phillips has volunteered to be one of those attorneys. I mean, he's going to charge greatly reduced rates, and we really appreciate him taking on that extra work. I mean, he already does so much. So thank you. I just wanted to bring that up while he was still here. Thank you.
Alrighty.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Attorney Phillips Masi, and have a good day. Now we'll move on to Charlene St. from the Division of Senior Citizens.
Yes, good morning, everyone. Good morning, Senator. Good morning, Public Defender Services Corporation. I'm with the division of, my name is Charlene St. I'm the Acting Senior Citizens Administrator with the Division of Senior Citizens of the Department of Public Health and Social Services. We are providing testimony in support of Bill 100-36. The Department of Public Health and Social Services supports the intent of Bill 100-36 relative to allowing the Public Defender Service Corporation to receive and administer grants and enter into intra-governmental agreements and to establishing and the Elderly Law Center within the corporation to provide legal services for Guam's elderly population. The Department of Public Health and Social Services concurs with the following. Local resources to fund these programs are limited, but federal grants to support them may be available. If allowed and passed, the Public Defender Service Corporation will be able to apply, receive, and administer federal grants reserved for those special population to fill the gaps in legal services for the vulnerable, underserved, and underrepresented members of our community who need them the most. The Elder Justice Law Center would be funded by projected funds of approximately $192,144, of which the maintenance of effort of approximately $23,661. The federal share would be 85%, and the local portion is 15%. And the difference of $168,483 to be provided upon the annual Appropriations Budget Act funding being appropriated, allocated, and available, continue to be provided to the Division of Senior Citizens to provide legal assistance services for the elderly aged 60 years and older, who will then be able to enter into a memorandum of understanding with the Public Defender Services Corporation to continue to provide long-term services for more than 3 years. The department fully supports the enabling language of the corporation must be amended to clarify that notwithstanding any existing moratoriums or existing law, the corporation is able to apply for, receive, and administer grants and subgrants and enter into intra-governmental and inter-governmental agreements, including but not limited to grants to provide protective orders and legal services for the elderly. Legal assistance provided under Title 3B, Guam's 4-year state plan on aging, is part of the essential core of Administration on Aging's, now known as Administration for Community Living's legal assistance and elder rights programs. The Legal Services Network can provide important assistance for older persons in accessing long-term care options and other community-based services. Legal services also protect older persons against direct challenges to their independence, choice, and financial security. These legal services are specifically targeted to older individuals with economic or social needs. Further, on December 11, 2020, the department engaged into a memorandum of understanding with the Public Defender Services Corp to plan, develop, and implement a legal assistance program known as the Elder Justice Center. The center will be able to provide Title 3B legal assistance as defined in the Older Americans Act, Section 102.33, to mean legal advice and representation provided by an attorney to older individuals with economic or social need, and includes, to the extent feasible, counseling and other appropriate assistance by a paralegal or law student under the direct supervision of an attorney, and counseling or representation by a non-lawyer where permitted by law. So thank you for the opportunity to provide comment on behalf of this bill. I have signed it and it's been concurred by our director, Arts and Agustin. It is Public Health Awareness Week, so if you're wondering where our director is at and our deputy, I'm sure that they wanted to be here, but today is our last day. So I just want to bring that out so that you're aware of that. Further, I do want to also share that having this opportunity will provide the sustainability and continuity of services for our seniors. In prior years, within GUAM procurement law, we have what's called termination for convenience. And during 2 parts of different administration changes, this program, which is available to assist our seniors, was terminated for convenience. And each time it disrupts the seniors in continuing their legal services. So we do fully support this so that we can ensure that there's continuity. It's long-term. So that's it at this time. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Charlene, and happy Public Health Week. The director did log on to the Zoom room a little earlier, and he informed me that you would be the one providing testimony. So we appreciate that you could be here today and for your support. Thank you for all you continue to do at Public Health, and we hope you have a great celebration this week. And I would like to also recognize my colleague for joining me today, our committee member and co-sponsor of the bill, Tony Atta. Thank you very much, Senator, for being here.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
And I'd like to move on to the Mayor of Muña, Mr. Bill King. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. So, buenas noches, this is my testimony. Buenas noches, Senator Amanda, Shelton, and members of the Committee on Air Transportation, Parks, Tourism, Higher Education, and the Advancement of Women, Youth, and Senior Citizens. I appear before you today in support of Bill number 100-36, an act to amend Section 11105 of Chapter 11, Title 12, Guam Code Annotated, relative to allowing the Public Defender Service Corporation the ability to receive and administer grants and enter into intergovernmental and intergovernmental agreements, and to establishing an elder law center within the Public Defender. Representing the village of Zona, I speak on behalf of the residents in my village that the amendment of Chapter 11, Title 12, Guam Code Annotated is way overdue, not just for the residents of my village, but for the people of Guam. While this bill is primarily for Guam's senior citizens, the Public Defender should be available to help all residents who are in need of legal assistance and unable to afford an attorney. This is outlined in Section 11105 that states, the corporation shall render legal aid and assistance to those persons in Guam who, under rules established by the corporation are in need of legal assistance and representation who are unable to afford an attorney in private practice. To me, to the section of public defender statute, I would like to see all residents of Guam be able to obtain legal assistance from this office. However, understanding that the Public Defender's Board of Trustees have placed a moratorium and civil matters back in 2003, Bill number 100-36 is a great start in partially lifting the corporation's moratorium. In closing, I thank the committee for the opportunity to provide this testimony in support of Bill number 100-36. I'm available to answer any questions or concern that the committee may have regarding my support of this bill. Susmasi.
Thank you very much, Mayor Kinga. And I'd like to open it up to questions to the mayor if anyone of my colleagues have a question, so we can excuse him if anyone has a question. No? Okay, we'll move on. Mayor, you are very welcome to, oh, yes, okay, Senator Talina Nelson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mayor, I just want to thank you for coming and giving testimony here today with us. It's greatly appreciated, so thank you very much.
Can you hear me?
Yes, there you go.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. So you're welcome to stay, of course, for the rest of the hearing, but I know how busy you are and to get back to the village, so you are excused if you need to. And I'd also like to mention, yes, thank you, Mayor. I'd also like to mention for the record that we received testimony from the Office of the Mayor of Maritzo, Ernest T. Chargloff, and I'd like to read it into the record. Hafaday, Senator Amanda Shelton, and members of the Committee on Air Transportation, Parks, Tourism, Higher Education, and the Advancement of Women, Youth, and Senior Citizens. It gives me great pleasure to come before you today to provide testimony in complete support of Bill 100-36. Having actually worked and retiring at the public defender at a time when we were able to help residents in need of civil legal assistance, whether to get a divorce, obtain a will or guardianship for their grandchildren, niece or nephew, I say that we allow public defender to get back into the business of helping Guam's less fortunate, marginalized, and underrepresented population in civil matters. I would like to see that we bring back the service in Guam Public Defender Service Corporation's name. And while they do serve Guam's indigent population in criminal matters, it's time again to see this fine organization represent those in need of other legal assistance be represented by Guam's public defender. As I represent Guam's most southern village, Malasu, our culture, traditions, heritage is rich and as well as ingrained in our daily life. We honor and respect our Sainas, and they not only deserve the assistance from the public defender, but have actually earned such service based on all they have gone through over the years. Our senior citizens, especially our World War II generation, deserve representation from this office. And as we all work together to make this happen, I would like to add that there not be any income guidelines for our Manamku to qualify for services from this office. What I have heard or actually seen over the years is that our Manamku have had to sell some of their most valuable possessions, land, to seek assistance from private attorneys. And the only thing that the senior citizen wanted to do was to give their land to their children or grandchildren. In order for them to make this transaction legal, they had to sell land to pay for attorney's fees. How does this make any sense to our people, the indigenous people of Guam? Chamorros, like the Aborigines, find land to be a very important part of their livelihood. Aborigines believe that they don't own the land owns them. They, like the Chamorros, have always had a spiritual connection to the land, and because of this connection, many indigenous people will not leave their island. Those who do leave tend to always come home to visit, keeping the connection to the cultural heritage and people of their island. Recognizing the importance of Bill 100-36 to my constituents as well as the people of Guam, I am in full support of the passage of this bill into law. Seduas Masi, Ernest T. Chargaloff, Maritzo, Mayor. So thank you very much to the Mayor of Maritzo, Mr. Ernest Chargaloff, as well as the Mayor of Jonya, Mr. Bill Kinga. Thank you, gentlemen, both for your time today. And now we'll move on to the Elder Justice Center, Attorney Kat Seguenza. Good morning.
Good morning, and thank you for allowing me to testify, Madam Chairwoman and members of the committee. My name is Kat Seguenza, and I'm here to testify in favor of Bill 136-36 COR. I was recently hired by the Public Defender Service Corporation to assist in the development of this program, and we jumped through hoops to make this happen. I had retired and had never expected to come back to the practice of law. And then I was approached about this program, and I see such a need for it that we filed petitions with the Supreme Court of Guam, and they allowed me to be reinstated in the bar to help with this project. The pilot program is to establish a high-quality legal services to be provided to Guam's socially and economically needy elderly age 60 and over. At the outset, I would like to clarify and correct some misconceptions that may exist about the program that I've heard. And I think I'll do that by explaining to you, Madam Chair, and the committee, what the program will not do. We will not do any criminal matters. We will not do any fee-generating cases. We will not do any litigation. We will not probate any wills. We will not draft any deeds or attend to real estate matters. We're very sensitive to the needs of our colleagues in the private bar. So we're going to develop this program so that we satisfy everybody and take care of everybody's needs. What I really see this program as being, at least at this point, is a sophisticated referral system. We are only going to provide 4 services. We're going to prepare wills. We're going to do power of attorneys. We're going to do living wills and guardianships. These matters are issues which really become important as we get older. For example, people get incapacitated in their old age, but they still have to make medical and financial decisions. And it can be done with proper planning, whether it be a living will or a deed with reserving a right of a life estate. Whatever the idea is, what I'm seeing this program as is qualifying applicants will get to speak with our attorneys, and we'll be able to educate them, find out what they need. Is the will the best way for them? They may want to avoid probating a will. So our job is going to be to educate them. There are pros and cons of going through probate. There are pros and cons about drafting deeds with rights of joint survivorship or with retaining a life estate. And it's going to be our job to educate them. If they find that they want to take one of our services, of course, we're gladly going to prepare the documents. But if they don't, we're going to make our referrals to the private bar. It's fortuitous that we're addressing this issue at this time during Citizens Month. I'm so proud to be affiliated both with the Public Defender's Office and the Division of Senior Citizens here at DPH. I've worked for many government agencies in many jurisdictions, and the level of passion and commitment that I see with this group of people is heartwarming. So I'm very happy to be involved. Back to the referral idea. What we're really trying to do is make this a collaborative effort. We have already existing excellent relationships, which we want to develop and foster further with our Guam Bar Association Law Referral Service, with Guam Legal Services Corporation, Micronesian Legal Services, the Department of Health, obviously, and even the University of Guam. If we continue this government helping government approach, we're going to effectively be able to provide the legal services that our Manamco need. I think you may have mentioned some numbers earlier, Senator Amanda. I understand that there are over 300 requests just for wills. So without a question of a doubt, there's a need for this program. The key is to develop the foundation now to make sure we can make it sustainable. We don't want this funding to run out in 6 months and stop. So we need the opportunity, and what this bill gives us is the opportunity to investigate and obtain further grants. Also to enter into intergovernmental relationships. Say someone, another outfit like DPH, Public Health has a grant. Let's join them. Let's work together. And I think we're all going to be really pleased with the results. I'm very optimistic. I see it as a doable project. I'm excited about it. And if it's okay with you, this bill is the next step, I think, to achieving our goals. So I think it's really a good thing. I don't know if this is possible, but I would like to make one recommendation that I think might be appropriate in the actual language of the bill. I've noticed that in many of the grants that deal with the elderly, there is a buzzword that's always used. And the buzzword is the elderly with the greatest economic and social need. I think by inserting that language in the bill, it's going to help us when we're applying for grants. And I think I'm going to propose, if I may, a simple way to do that. Is that okay?
Please do.
Okay. So on page 3, line 3, after the word in, I would like to suggest inserting, quote, the greatest economic and social. All righty. And then if you follow that sentence to the next line at 4, if we put a period after the word representation and delete the remainder of this sentence, the final sentence will read, the corporation shall render legal aid and assistance to those persons in Guam who, under the rules established by the corporation, are in the greatest economic and social need of legal assistance and representation, period. All right, that way we get the words in. We will eliminate the words, and this is what I have a hard time with because I don't know really how we're going to meet this standard. The language that I'm suggesting that we delete are, quote, and who are unable to afford an attorney in private practice. I think that that's going to make it difficult for establishing a standard. So it's just a suggestion, and my reasoning is, again, Charlene is our expert and Kathy Moylan in our office for obtaining grants. And I think sometimes if our bill's language coincides with that of the grant, I think it's going to make it easier for us. And other than that, I thank you very much for this service and this opportunity. And I hope that you all vote in favor of Bill 100-36 COR. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Attorney Seguenza. And now we'll move on to Attorney Stephen Hattori, the Executive Director of the Public Defender Service Corporation.
Thank you, Chairperson. It is high time that Guam take care of Guam's Manamco. And at the Public Defender Service Corporation, we're excited to be able to offer this service, right? I like to say that service is our middle name, and hopefully this bill will change that, lowercase s in service to uppercase s in service. I mean, our office does provide other civil services currently. For example, we have a victim service unit that obtains protective orders on behalf of victims of abuse, sexual assault, stalking, and other domestic abuse. There's no income guidelines for those emergency matters. We also represent individuals, thanks to the Speaker's war claims legislation, to facilitate the receipt of the war claims. So like if a war claim survivor has passed away and the family needs to have the money released to them, we can represent them and expedite the process and get the war claims released. And that's also something that's not necessarily based on income guidelines. And of course, during this pandemic, right, our office has even been tasked with representing travelers challenging orders for involuntary quarantine. And that's a service we continue to perform this day. So, you know, if you guys are traveling in the future and you want to get out of quarantine, just give us a call, right? So this law would facilitate creating a more permanent elder justice center that can both provide legal services and advocate for elder legal issues. I mean, right now we have like a 300 some wait list. I think as we publicize our services, we're getting more and more Manamco interested. But once we tackle this and once we get firmly established, I believe that center can also advocate for different elder justice issues, not necessarily just legal issues, but for like elder abuse training that we might be able to provide in the future. So it is anticipated that grants and sub-grants will be pursued to provide elder abuse training, advocacy, and protection. And finally, the law makes clear that the corporation shall not accept fee-generating cases. And you know that language is very important because it's there's a huge amount of case law defining what is considered a fee-generating case, and so it'll provide great guidance to our office as well. Now, additionally, the general language of the bill clarifies that this office can enter into inter or intergovernmental agreements to provide legal services for the underrepresented indigent community of Guam. And as our office's budget continues to be underfunded, and I'm not really complaining here, it is incumbent on our administration to seek supplemental funding through the pursuit of grants. Ideally, GovGuam departments and or agencies should be encouraged to seek external funding that is within the parameters of the law and in line with their mission and vision. This language makes such authority explicit and will facilitate the pursuit of other grants related to our mission. And like one example I like to provide is there's a Guam, I guess there's the dementia clinic that through UOG we've been conducting legal clinics online with them, and they have a large grant, and we may be able to enter into an MOU with them to provide legal services for dementia clients unrelated to what we're providing through the Elder Justice Center and the DPHSS grant. We may also be able to get enter into an agreement with them to like provide elder abuse training. Hopefully, that's one of our goals, to provide that to the Guam Police Department and also the Mayor's Council and other people who engage the Manamco on a daily basis. All right. So again, we'd like to thank you for the opportunity to provide testimony on Bill number 100-36. Should there be any questions or concerns relative to our ability to fulfill the inclusions to Chapter 11 of our Enabling Act, we are prepared to provide such clarification. Also, one last thing. I would also be remiss if I did not thank the dedicated employees of the Public Defender Service Corporation that have worked tirelessly throughout the course of this pandemic. Our office has been operating 6 days a week throughout the various shutdowns. The need for criminal representation and for protection and restraining orders has remained unabated during this period. So, of course, I'd like to thank them for all their hard work. And also thank you as well for entertaining this bill.
Thank you very much, Attorney Hattori, and everyone who's provided testimony today. I'd like to open the floor to my colleagues if they have any questions, beginning with my Vice Chair, Senator Talina Nelson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I don't have any questions. I would like to thank Attorney Seguenza for some of the recommendations you put forward to ensuring that we do help those with the greater socioeconomic needs. And so thank you for that recommendation. And Also, Attorney Hattori, thank you for your work, the public defender's work during this time, and also for your support on this bill, and also reaching out to our Manamco and finally seeing how we can do to engage them when it deals with these legal challenges that they are facing. And also, Mr. Nicholas, thank you very much for your testimony and the hard work that you've been doing over at the Public House. So thank you very much, everyone. And Mayor, nice to see you again, and have a good day. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Senator Nelson. Senator Torres?
Thank you, Senator Shelton. Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for this wonderful testimony. Charlene St. Nicholas of DPHSS, you really narrowed in a lot of the concerns that I had about how this would work with people who especially have issues with access to health. I'm very interested in reading what the Elder Americans Act is and some of the issues that might follow as a result of those protections that are in place for our elderly. Attorney Siguenza, I'm so glad that you are the person that's running this program, because just watching you and listening to you, you seem like the great fit for this. I mean, just your demeanor and your experience, I think would be great for the program. I was a little confused, so in terms of, I understand how you've narrowed down what the services of the Public Defender Service Corporation are going to be to 4 specific areas with power of attorneys and wills and living wills and guardianships. But will that also bleed into some of the areas and issues that public health would have with their clients and some of the problems that they face in terms of access to care or so how would that relationship work with you and public health, for example, or you and the public guardian?
Yeah, thanks. Thank you, Senator Mary. As I explained, I really see this as a collaborative effort, and I really see our office at this time as a sophisticated referral agency. So you're absolutely right. On our intake sheet, what the places that we've listed to make referrals are to the case management services at public health, to the public guardian, if need be, to legal aid, and then also Micronesia Legal. So also, the other thing that I'm really excited about is because as I learn the services that Charlene and her office provide to the Manamco, it's overwhelming. So say I have a client who's nearing the age of 65, and in talking, I say, have you signed up for your Medicare? And they have no idea what we're talking about. Well, we can refer them right down the hall. We have free Medicare advice. Say we're noticing some sort of fraudulent conveyance or abuse, we have Adult Public Protective Services right next door. We have the facilities of the Public Defender's Office. So that's what I mean when I say I don't see this as a tug of war. I see this really as a collaborative effort. And the key for us is to make the right referrals. Does that help?
Yeah, that does. I want to ask Attorney Hattori, in the past, you and I have had discussions about some of the prevailing problems in our community with scamming, scammers targeting elders and elderly people being victimized. And so the public defender had a keen interest in that because a lot of people were coming to you asking for help or guidance. When I thought about this elder center, I thought about the gamut of services that you could provide. But of course, you are not going to now take away from civil action that private attorneys would be more, it'd be more proper for them to handle those sorts of issues, collecting damages and filing suits and stuff. But in terms of the elderly, would your center also focus in on all aspects where the elderly are most prone to victimization. And I mean, even in your referral services, what I'm concerned about is losing sight of all issues that would impact the elderly and abuse of the elderly. You know, not just access to care but those other things, the scamming issues, the manipulation by family members, you know, people with dementia requiring certain protections or considerations. So how would you, in terms of elder issues, how would you broaden that without, you know, taking on more than your 4 points?
Yeah, and so that's a really great question because, you know, I mean, we're really interested in like a holistic approach to representing our clients. I mean, really, when they come in for a will, we'll also inform them about the other legal services we provide, like a living will, right? That they can tell their family how they, you know, what's going to happen to them if they become incapacitated and they are on life support. That way the children don't have to fight about it. But the way I see the Elder Justice Center, because there's a wait list right now, we're going to wade through that and we're going to help as many people as we can. But once that wait list gets eliminated, then we'll have more time to advocate on behalf of the elders and pursue grants. Like there was one grant that we wanted to pursue that would have provided elder abuse training. And then I really see that this center could actually advocate for the Manumco on you know, different policy matters that affect them. And so we're hoping that initially our services will be limited because we're trying to clear the wait list and help basically pick the low-hanging fruit first. And then once we take care of that, then we'll be able to expand our services and help the Manumco in more complex matters. I mean, during this pandemic, we had difficulty. I mean, I had to turn away Manumcos who were being evicted, and it's really hard, you know, I mean, you know, because of our moratorium, right? They still come to us for help. But there are so many services that could be provided, like if they're facing eviction from GURA or you know, being disqualified from Section 8 or public benefits, they're allowed to a fairness hearing. And hopefully we'll get to that point where we can provide those kind of services. But right now it's really limited to those 4 discrete areas of law. And the best part about it is they're going to come in, and if they find that we cannot help them, then we're going to provide them a list of attorneys out in the private sector who may be able to help them. So we'll eventually be a lawyer referral service for the Guam Bar as well. But yeah, we have really big plans for expanding services. Thanks.
Yeah, that's awesome. Attorney Seguenza, did I cut you off? I don't know if you had a comment. And no? Okay. All right. Madam Chair, thank you very much. I think that this is wonderful. The 4 points really are, a lot of times that is what the elderly need also to access other things, powers of attorney, you know, somebody to help them with their matters, the living wills, the will. So I can see how, in the guardianships, I can see how that is a very useful and narrow approach as you get this started. But congratulations to all of you. And, you know, we're 100% behind you. And if you need volunteer works in the center, there's some of us who can help process documents and do all of that for you. So I think that this is a great way to get the community involved as well. And not only facilitating in where they can in non-legal matters, but also in helping people to understand the importance of these services and making sure that our Manumco have access, you know, to critical documents that that will dignify them in their elder years in life, and especially in their last days of their lives. So, Jesus Masi, and Godspeed to all of you.
Thank you very much, Senator Torres. Senator Ada?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't have any questions. Just wanted to thank Mayor Kenya, Attorney Seguenza, Attorney Hattori, and Ms. Nicholas for their testimony here today. Madam Chair, I thank you for moving this bill and having this public hearing as soon as possible. And that way we'll be able to get these services available to our seniors that need this type of help. And I look forward for this bill hitting the floor in our next session, if possible, Madam Chair. And so we can get these services available as soon as possible. Thank you again, Madam Chair, for this, and also for having me as a co-sponsor. Thank you. And to my colleagues, thank you as well for, co-sponsoring this bill with the chairwoman.
Yes, thank you very much, Senator Ada. And our plan is to move it during our April session. I'm hoping to do that so that we can pass it as we begin Senior Citizens Month in May. So I look forward to doing that with all of you very soon. With that, with all of the questions and testimony today, I'd like to once again thank everyone who's been here to provide their input on the bill and their support for the bill. We greatly appreciate it. And I'd like to thank all of our partners who helped to get us to this point, because this was a bill that we introduced during our last term, and we were waiting for the approval from the board at the PDSC to approve this pilot program. And now we have this pilot program coming off the ground. So it's been a long time coming, with a lot of work from all of our partners at the Division of Senior Citizens, at the Public Defender Service Corporation, and now the Elder Justice Center. So we are so thankful for all of the collaboration that everyone has been willing to contribute to this project, to make it successful and to help us provide these services to our Manamco. I know that we cannot stress enough how vital these services are, and how much all of us want to be able to help our aging community and help them to live out their lives, their golden years, as easily as possible, as stress-free as possible. So these services will certainly help them, and so we are so grateful with that. And as Attorney Hattori mentioned, there is a rise of abuse of our Manamco community that we've heard in the last several years. And so we'd like to be able to be there for them and stop this before it gets any worse. So thank you to all of you. And I'd like to once again thank my co-sponsors. So Vice Speaker Tina Rose Muña Barnes, Senator Telena Cruz Nelson, Senator Tony Ada, and Senator Mary Camacho Torres. Thank you very much for your support. And with that, Bill number 100-36 has been duly heard. So we will move on to the next item on our agenda, and that is Bill number 98-36 LS, and that was introduced by the Committee on Air Transportation, Parks, Tourism, Higher Education, and the Advancement of Women, Youth, and Senior Citizens by request of the Youth Congress, the Guam Youth Congress, in accordance with 2 GCA Section 7102, and that is an act to add a new Section 7124 to Chapter 7, Title 10, Guam Code Annotated, relative to requiring licensed residential care facilities to install surveillance equipment, and to cite this act as the Patient Liberties for Surveillance Act. So this is a bill that was passed very recently by the Guam Youth Congress. And so for those who are just tuning in, the Guam Youth Congress is also a policymaking body, and the bills that they pass within their body are forwarded onto the Guam legislature and introduced as bills in our legislature. So this bill has been referred to the Committee on the Advancement of Senior Citizens. And we are very happy to hear it today, as we've been talking about our Manamco all morning. And we have here today the prime sponsor of this piece of legislation, and I'd like to recognize him at this time, our GYC representative, Blas Tyron, to provide some opening remarks on this bill.
Madam Chair, and thank you to the members of the committee for allowing me to speak in support of Bill 98-36. I would also like to extend a great deal of gratitude to my fellow citizens who have chosen to take time out of their day in order to share their perspectives and respective thoughts on the bill at hand. Manana Sizus Todes Hamzu, my name is Vicente Blas Tyron, and I'm a Guam Youth Congress representative. As a member of the youth, I feel it is our duty to set the precedent that we will defend and protect the well-being of our Manamco and those with disabilities. Forging an equitable society for all is by no means an easy task, but today with Bill 98-36, we take a proactive step towards molding a transformative measure that will benefit a segment of our population so often overlooked. There is hardly any uniformity which unites us all in this world, but one such common ground is that all human beings should be treated with dignity and respect. These same sentiments are what this bill aims to strengthen, and the very nature of its purpose calls elected leaders and citizens alike to preserve values of Inafat Maulik, Gwinaidza, and Fattauto. When beginning to research about the topic of elderly homes, I realized just how many people utilize these services, and I thought that the increasing statistics shown in numerous amounts of research exhibiting countless instances of elder abuse from care home personnel. I found that according to the Center for Nursing Home Abuse, approximately 1.6 million people in the United States reside in these care facilities. And according to the World Health Organization, more than 2/3 of care staff and personnel in 2020 alone admitted to committing a form of abuse and/or neglect towards the patients they serve. So what can this bill do to combat the issues mentioned prior? Well, over the time patients spend in care homes, care facility staff help them with many different tasks, such as preparing meals, assisting them eat, bathing and dressing, hygienic routines, medical care management, in certain roles in the medical field, medication management, and mobility. As one can imagine, these patients receive aid and assistance numerous times during the day and are interacting in a rather intimate way with the staff that help them. By implementing policy that requires the installation of surveillance equipment in all common areas of these facilities, we advocate for the safety and fair treatment of both the patient and medical personnel who may claim to experience abuse and may benefit from a video record to strengthen their claim. Likewise, we also can combat false accusations. Additionally, the bill will also require nursing home facilities to brief patients on the patient's right to install surveillance equipment in their own living quarters, an act that would enable them and/or their guardian to have a sense of safety and security should they choose to utilize this right. By allowing the patient and/or their guardian to be aware of these rights, we inform them of their personal liberties while preserving the confidential nature of the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. At this time, I'd like to echo the sentiments shared by former Senator and registered nurse Carmen Artero Kasperbauer, who was one of the featured speakers at UOG's Western Pacific Conference on Public Administration and Policy Solution in 2015. Former Senator Kasperbauer said that the senior citizens of Guam are growing in numbers. They're the people that started rebuilding the island after the war. We shouldn't give up on them. We shouldn't make them feel like they did their job and they rebuilt Guam just to stay in their room when they're older. Ladies and gentlemen, I urge each of you to continue to remind yourselves of the importance of respecting senior citizens, our manamku, and those with disabilities, and to advocate for their right to a just and dignified life, something all human beings should be afforded. Sidus Maasi and Sidus and Fan Binitisi Torres Hamzu.
Sidus Masi Ben, our Guam Youth Congress representative, thank you very much for being here this morning. I'd also like to recognize the Speaker of the Guam Youth Congress, Ms. Stephanie Lorenzo. If you have testimony to give this morning. Okay.
Sidus Masi, Senator Shelton, and Sidus Masi to all the members of 36 Guam Legislature. My name is Stephanie Lorenzo, and I'm here in my capacity as Speaker of the 33rd Guam Youth Congress. I would like to just say that I'm in full support of this bill. This bill aims to increase security. As you all know, there's heavy foot traffic in some of these care facilities. And so with the passage of this bill, it will empower the patients to have that peace of mind, knowing that, someone, their family member is always watching over them, whether it be through video camera as well. It also increases safety again, like the previous, majority leader had said, gives them peace of mind, empower the patients. And lastly, it monitors the activities. If an individual is in a care facility, that means that they probably need to take a few medications. And so with the passage of this bill and having surveillance, personal surveillance, family members can monitor whether their loved ones are receiving the care that is needed in a timely manner, of course. I would like to keep it brief, but I just want to say I'm in full support of this bill. Sizos Masi, Senator Shelton, for hearing it so expeditiously. I know that we just transmitted to your office. So Sizos Masi, thank you.
Thank you very much, Speaker Lorenzo. And now Dr. Robert Underwood. I know you have some testimony. Good morning, sir.
Buenos dias. Thank you, Senator Shelton, Madam Chair, and other members of the distinguished members of the committee, as well as the Speaker of the Youth Congress. And even though I'm no longer young, he's from Tamuning, so he's my youth representative there, Senator. I appreciate the opportunity. Just as a matter, I want to point this out just to teach a little history lesson. The very first youth legislature was established in 1964, and it was done by election at the 4 high schools. At the time, the Academy, the Father Duenas, JFK, GW, and they gave one to the Guam Adventist Academy. So that totaled 21. So it was in session for one day. So, you know, at some point in time, people ought to take a look at that and try to remember that. That was also the first Youth Day in the government of Guam. This legislation is vitally important. It raises a number of issues concerning the nature of security and a sense of security for our senior citizens and in nursing homes, which up to date have not been numerous in Guam, but certainly over time, given the advantages of modern day medicine and the fact that longevity is going to be a feature of Guam society coming up. It means that many people who are in their 50s and 60s will have to be taking care not of just of their parents, but their grandparents. And so the notion of that whole pressure of what to do with elderly care, especially as they deal with circumstances such as dementia or prolonged serious illness, as something that's going to hit our social services and test our values as a society. And that's why this legislation is so important. It raises constitutional issues, but it also speaks to our values as a society. How do we see senior citizens? How do we see Imanamco? This is a vitally important jumping off point. I don't know exactly what the law is regarding the taping and videotaping in Guam. I know in some states you are supposed to secure the approval of the other person you're taping. In some states, you can just go ahead and tape all you want. So I don't know where Guam fits in that divide, but I do know that only a handful of states have this kind of provision in their legislation. So assuming that that issue is cleared away in terms of where Guam sits on that issue of personal surveillance and who has to give permission for personal surveillance, maybe nursing homes and public facilities of that nature reach another level and should be required, could be required. There's, you've all seen them. You've all seen examples of senior citizens being treated badly in institutions, senior citizens being treated badly at home by caregivers that, maybe the family thought were a little bit better prepared and a little bit more humane than they actually turned out to be. And there was a whole series on recently on foster children and their treatment in privatized homes. So all of this speaks to the issue of personal security and most importantly, our values. So I certainly endorse and I congratulate the Youth Congress and Senator Tyrone for coming up with this. And I hope that this legislation moves along in a speedy fashion. Thank you very much.
Dr. Underwood, thank you very much for your time and your testimony here this morning. We also have Deanna Tyron, who is with us this morning to provide testimony on the bill.
Hattori. My name is Deanna Tyron. I am a certified nursing assistant as well as a certified medical administrative assistant. And I would like to support Bill 98-36. I've provided care to elderly and residents on the islands of Oahu and Guam. And thank you for allowing me to speak this morning. I feel Bill 98-36 would not only allow guardians the ability to see what transpires when they are not present, it could serve as a visual documentation of residents and employee interactions. In this field, documentation is a fundamental part of our everyday routine. It is crucial to monitor and report what goes on with those we care for, so that we may help them to continue to live a happy and healthy life. In addition, I believe this bill would provide a sense of relief and comfort to those who have loved ones in a care facility, with residents themselves and with the employees who assist them. The statistics quoted in this bill in regard to abuse are unfortunately all too real. Although each facility may have their own protocol, as well as protocol for ourselves as medical personnel, I feel that what this bill allows will only help strengthen our fight against abuse and continue to give, or allow us to give the Manangku the care that they really deserve. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Tyron. And now Ms. Charlene St. Nicholas from the Division of Senior Citizens at the Department of Public Health and Social Services.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, senators, Senator of course Shelton, Ada, and Torres, and our Youth Congress for providing the feedback and comments, and of course, our former Congressman Underwood. On behalf of the Department of Public Health and Social Services, we are providing a comment on Bill 98-36. A written testimony will be submitted. The department recognizes the potential of abuse to occur against vulnerable populations and managed facilities like an adult daycare center. And we further recognize that surveillance can be a source of evidence of what abuse may have transpired. However, the department is requesting that the measure be further explored in the area of legal authority to require surveillance equipment in common areas that residents may or may not consent to. And in some instances where the authorized representatives is not in agreement for their loved one to be recorded. Therefore, as the intent is to require operators of licensed care facilities to install surveillance equipment in common areas of which the department operates adult daycare center programs with a total of 3 sites. And as a government-funded operation, we recommend an opinion from the Office of the Attorney General be requested on the legality for a government-funded licensed care facility to install surveillance equipment in common areas. As there are limited opportunities and options for seniors and their families to avail of adult daycare services on island, the installation of surveillance equipment in a government program that is funded in part by local and federal dollars does not leave the senior or their authorized representative the essence of having a choice to or to not be recorded. With limited options, the senior or their authorized representative may feel compelled to agree otherwise. Where would the person requiring supervised care be? At home, unsupervised is a possible option that in and of itself could lead to abuse. A counter effect due to surveillance equipment infringing on their right, or it may be that as a government operated and funded facility, using local and federal dollars, the provision or installation of surveillance equipment is a moot issue. Without knowing what the legal implication is on this matter, the department remains committed to protecting our children, our elderly, and adult with disability. And while this is our mission, we too are committed to ensuring that in an effort to protect those vulnerable populations, we do not, with the best of interest, violate any rights of our vulnerable population we serve. Once mandated, the authority will exist, yet what the department is requesting is time to address the potential legal issues on choice of and freedom of choice of those who avail of government services. And we stand further to discuss this at a later time. So we just bring this up. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Nicholas, for your your input from the Division of Senior Citizens on the bill. We appreciate it. I'd like to open the floor to my colleagues now if they have any questions for the panel, beginning with Senator Mary Torres.
Yes, I'm wondering, the Youth Congress, have you looked into whether this electronic surveillance has any impact on the Fourth Amendment right of people to be secure against unreasonable search and seizures? Because that was initially what I thought, the idea that you can be monitored all the time, even in what I wonder could be also private situations where you're being cared for by someone, elderly, for example, who are being assisted with being cleaned, being diapered. Is that what you expected this to include, even those surveillance of even those intimate and private types of care of the elderly and the vulnerable? I'm specifically thinking about unlawful searches and seizures and how that works into in terms of the Fourth Amendment and all of that. Is that something that you've delved into or not?
Cesar Masi, Senator Torres. I do think that there is potential to delve into that subject matter more. I can tell you now that as the bill stands with the research done, common areas would be like areas that would be put under surveillance would be where staff and or the patients in these facilities congregate. So places like dining rooms, living rooms. But I definitely think that is a worthy point to look into, and most certainly, if given the opportunity, I would love to look more into that as the main sponsor.
Okay, so maybe it's my I overlooked that because I was thinking of general care, but you're talking specifically about common area congregations. All right, but I would ask though, it might be a good idea just to look at that Fourth Amendment unreasonable searches and seizures and whether this could potentially, I know that it's not uncommon to have this, but I'm sure that issue needs to be vetted, at least with whatever we decide to do in policy for Guam. So I just want to bring that up, but thank you very much for a very thoughtful piece of legislation.
Thank you very much, Senator Torres. And now move to Senator Ada. Any questions for the panel?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Youth Speaker Lorenzo, Representative Tyron, thank you for this piece of legislation as we continue to look forward and how we can care for our elderly. And I think, this is looking forward into the future as more homes start to begin to open up, right? Are we going to have more adult care facilities that will be opening up? And looking into this now, I believe, gives that opportunity to ensure that the safety of our seniors is taken care of. But the concerns of Congressman Underwood and my colleague, Senator Torres, is a very valid one. And I think that once we get the end of public health, Ms. Nicholas's testimony, and I think once we get the full scope of the legalities of everything that's behind this, I think this would be a great legislation to move forward once all those concerns have been addressed and they don't foresee any problems or whatever concerns they do have, that we address it either by amending current law or looking at what we can do to make sure that the bill goes into statute without violating the Fourth Amendment or any other statutes that's in place already. But thank you for your foresight in looking at these things and how we can continue to protect our senior citizens. And being next month is Senior Citizens Month again, let's continue to work together to ensure that we take care of everyone. But thank you, Madam Chair, for the opportunity.
Thank you very much, Senator Ada, and you're absolutely right. We are appreciative of the Guam Youth Congress, Representative Blas Tyron, for your foresight in introducing this legislation. As we recently passed at the end of last year, the Senior Citizens Housing Task Force to help us determine what kind of housing and care needs we will be needing in the future. And so this is absolutely a related part of that. And if we can pass this piece of legislation before we get to those official planning stages, so whatever care home is to be established, they can include this in their planning stages. So we are appreciative of that, and we will continue to work with the Guam Youth Congress as well as the Division of Senior Citizens to address these concerns. We'll also reach out to our legal counsel and to the Attorney General's office to answer some of these questions for us before we move forward with placing this bill on the floor. The committee will work together with the Guam Youth Congress. So thank you, everyone. And with that, bill number 98-36 has been duly heard. And today is also the presentation for the Youth Month. And I'd like to invite all of our Youth Congress representatives who are here to join us this afternoon for our resolution presentation at 4:00 p.m. And all of our partners and my colleagues, you're all invited as well. And I'm sorry, I did close the public hearing for Bill 98, but I'd also like to state for the record that we received written testimony from Sister Marian Arroyo, RSM, and just read very quickly her testimony for this bill. In the matter of having surveillance equipment in a residential care facility, here are ways in which the cameras can be helpful. Number one, safety. This helps caregivers monitor patient residents, especially if they are mobile. Number two, tracking. If any accidents should occur, playback can be made available to help see how the patient might have fallen. The system can also help locate where staff members might be. Number three, security. This assists in the recording the comings and goings of personnel, visitors, and residents. These cameras are used in common areas, hallways, entrances. To protect residents' privacy, monitors are not used in bedrooms and bathrooms. So thank you very much to Mercy Care Center, Sisters of Mercy, Sister Marian Arroyo, RSM, Guam Mercy Administrator. And to everyone else who's been on the call today, the Zoom call for this public hearing. So Dios masi, everyone. Have a great day, and we'll see you later this afternoon. Adios.